In this lesson, we're going to cover a very common topic, which is travel. We'll see an answer given by an IELTS student, and then I'll give ideas about how she scored highly and what she could improve on. As this topic is so common, I thought it would be useful to give you 3 really interesting pieces of vocabulary that you can easily use to score higher points. I'll also give you an example sentence of the vocabulary in use so you can understand how they are used. Our first piece of vocabulary is picturesque. The villages in northern England are so picturesque. This is often used to describe places where there is lots of natural beauty. The next phrase is the idiomatic expression, off the beaten track. This is usually used to describe less common or more adventurous travel plans. I much prefer to stay off the beaten track and find my own adventures. Landscape is a fairly simple piece of vocabulary, but will definitely score you extra marks, and it is used to describe the physical, geographical features of a place. For example, the landscape of France is often mountainous and cold. Please do try and use these with your teacher or language exchange partner, as I'm sure they're pieces of vocabulary and phrases that will score you extra points in your IELTS speaking test. Let's jump right into our IELTS speaking dialogue around the topic of travel, and here is the question. Describe a country or city that you have visited.
It seems like a long time ago, but I took a trip to Canada some years ago. I really found Vancouver an interesting place. Actually, it had always been my dream to visit Canada because when I was little, my dad showed me his Canada trip pictures and I immediately fell in love with the country. I've got to admit that I was very nervous at the beginning because I traveled there all by myself and Canada is very far away from Thailand. So when I arrived, I felt so relieved, like, yes, I made it. And then after that, I fell in love with Vancouver. The city itself and its landscapes were absolutely stunning. People stopped their cars every time I was going to cross the road, and this was quite a culture shock to me since I came from Bangkok, where everybody drives like crazy and never stops for people crossing the road. I felt very sad on the last day that I had to leave. I did a lot of things while I was being in Vancouver, basically exploring the city by foot and bicycle, spotting some grizzly bears, and joining the whale watching tour. It was the most amazing experience I have ever had in my entire life. Maybe one day I can go again and relive that trip.
Other than a little bit of hesitation and some pronunciation errors, this was a brilliant answer. So let's take a look at what really worked well. The student used some excellent collocations, such as took a trip and fell in love. This makes it sound very natural. And if you can use a few in your speaking test, you'll also score well. The student also used some really interesting sentence openers, such as, I've got to admit. This will help her to score more highly in a fluency assessment grid, and something that you can also easily include in your speaking. In the dialogue, the student used vocabulary such as because and since to make sure she told the full story. Lastly, the student really described everything in detail, which made her dialogue much more interesting. Do use some of the language that you have seen in this video, as I'm sure it will score you extra points in the test. Best of luck, and I will see you in the next lesson.